Homes are memory collectors. You know, old homes just have generational layers of memories and ghosts and all sorts of things like that that are fun to explore. That's where you find the stories, or within homes. But the home behind me is arguably the most famous home in Orange County. You know, it's a landmark, it's a visual landmark. How many homes can you say that about? You can see it for miles. And it's one of those places people ask us about, are you ever going to get into the Water Tower House? And here we are. So I'm really excited that today is our first episode of season 5 to kick it off at this place. It's very poetic.
I'm Chris Epting. History excites me, especially history that's waiting to be uncovered. I feel like a detective sometimes, sifting through clues, chasing down leads, and examining evidence. That's why I've written so many books about it. When you discover an untold story, it sparks the imagination, it connects you to the past, and sometimes it even helps you see into the future. Welcome to Hidden Huntington Beach.
So it's almost 40 years ago that this incredible photo was taken. Tom, that's you, apparently hoisting the water tower all by yourself, standing almost where we are right now. Describe what was happening this day in 1984.
They were lifting the tower with a crane that day, and we had 4 people on tag lines so that in case a wind came up, we could steady the tower.
Why was the tower even off of it at that point?
The water tower was a nuisance and kind of a safety issue for the city, and they decided that they were going to take it down. And the community got a little upset about that. They kind of liked that water tower. The city connected with George Armstrong, and he decided that perhaps he could do something with that. And he came up with this idea of building the water tower house. George's background originally was he's an optometrist, but he didn't like office work. He wanted to be outside for the most part. And I met George when I was over at the Naval Shipyard. George and I became friends. He was bright and always living on the edge for new adventures.
Hence this idea. You had done some work in the house before we got to this day in 84. Talk about your contributions inside the water tower house.
Before the tower was lifted, we were doing all of the finish work. And part of the finish work had to put a circular stairway in between the top floor and the one below it. And I did the welding on the stairway. They had the option of building the house up on the tower, or we're building it on the ground. It seemed like make more sense to build it on the ground and hoist it up. They used the same lumber from the barrel itself.
Wow.
And it was all split and all milled and everything else to make that house out of the same particular material.
That's incredible. And then once it was up, you would come here for parties and things, you said.
Oh, yeah. We stayed friends until he passed away a number of years ago.
What do you think today, when you drive by it today or see it, does your mind ever go back to those days with George and what this whole project was like?
It's a memory that just doesn't leave your mind, because it's something that is once in a lifetime. I mean, you can weld every day, but you never weld on something that's going to be there up in the air for everybody to see.
Well, listen, thank you for telling us about this photo, about your history here. It's really special. You're forever connected to this incredibly important structure, and we're going to head inside now and check out some of your work and the work of others as well, Tom. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Greg DiNicola and his wife Mary purchased the water tower in recent years.
Tell us, first of all, the story behind your outfit.
Well, I didn't come up with him, I inherited it, but our water tower home has a mascot, Walter Tower, or Wally Tower. He looks like a conductor on the trains, because the trains are the reason they built the water tower. There are hidden Walters, similar to hidden Mickeys in Disneyland. I've counted about 17, I think there's more. And I have an artist friend who wants to add another 20 in the nooks and crannies of the house. Rumor has it that he might still inhabit it as a ghost, because he was living in 1939 and the big hurricane tsunami came through. Legend has it he might have been thrown into the rafters. His body was never found. So he might be living with us in the tower, but he's a friendly ghost. Sometimes the hot water takes a long time to get to the top, which means he might be using it down here. The elevator sometimes is very slow because he's inside there with you. And the water feature you'll see when we go inside has a tendency to come on and off by itself.
You're going to give us a tour of all 4 levels. Before we go inside, I noticed there are 4 dates engraved on the front door. Why don't you tell us the significance of those numbers?
Yes, 1892, the water tower was built to supply water for the trains coming Santa Barbara down to San Diego.
That's why the tower was built in the first place.
To service trains. Okay. It says 1940. My research says it was more 1942. It would have been termite-ridden, decrepit, so it was torn down and replaced from oak to redwood because redwood is the most termite-proof wood, at least it was then. In 1985, it was unveiled as a house for the first time. Until then, it had been purely a water storage tower. And then in 2016, the new owner took over, who did most of the refurbishments you're going to see.
Greg, the first thing we see walking in here is a wall with all these tools mounted. What's the story with this?
Well, when they were excavating the tower in 1942 and they rebuilt it, they found all these tools and even more. So they saved them, and the last owners decided to put a wall of homage to the tools they found. So these are actually tools that were used here.
So the minute you come into the water tower house, you're met with some hidden history.
Yes.
And then next to you, why don't you show us what's there by turning it on? There's a great water feature here that...
So the last owner, to pay homage to the fact this is a water tower, put a water feature.
So Greg, this is the bedroom on the first floor of the water tower house. What can you tell me about this in here? It's a really cozy room.
Yes, but there's good evidence that all the water towers back 100 years ago had rooms for night watchmen. The night watchmen were hired because today we would call them homeless, but 100 years ago they called them hobos, would come with their dinners and they'd light a little fire and heat up their beans. Where's the worst place you want to light a fire is under a wooden water tower. So they would hire these night watchmen to shoo them away, and they had little rooms like this. So this was probably the night watchman room. So when I was a kid, I would watch horror movies in my living room, and Vincent Price always had some kind of thing where he pushed a button and the bookshelf behind him turned around, and there's a whole other lane. So here you see a typical everyday bookshelf. You don't think anything about it, but actually it opens to a secret room.
Oh my goodness.
It actually has beds. It can be a 5th bedroom, I guess.
That's incredible. The elevator is here to take us up to the next story. Are we ready to go?
I am.
A little tight, but we can do it.
I'm going to push D for deck.
How old is the elevator?
84.
Well, Greg, I know the view's only going to get better the higher we go, but this is pretty nice.
Yes, what's interesting is both Huntington Beach and Seal Beach have a 31-foot height restriction on roofs. And for example, that house there is 31 feet high. We're already higher than them.
How do you manage that?
And we're not even halfway up. We're 87 feet high. So we have a variance, of course, because of our age. So unfortunately, if the water tower were to disappear, we could never rebuild it.
A couple of things on this level. One, you have a jacuzzi, which is amazing.
Fantastic.
But then 2 questions that come up a lot. First is termites. How do you deal with it here? There's lots of rumors and kind of mythology about termites here. Tell us what it's really like.
Well, I researched woods because it was replaced with redwood in 42, and it is a relatively termite-resistant wood. But there have been termites here. I have pictures of it being tented about 7 years ago. When I purchased it, they did find some termites, so I had to have it treated, not tented. And I've been advised to have it looked at every couple of years and sprayed. So I think it's not a major issue, but it can happen.
What's the salt water and the corrosive effects? How does that work?
Oh, it happens everywhere. Here we call it patina. Everything's patinaed. It wears on the house.
The other main question is, are we in Sunset Beach or Seal Beach?
Well, we actually have 4 cities claiming us. We are legally in Seal Beach. The dividing line is the street right below us. So we are on the south end of Seal Beach, zip code-wise. But they don't really claim us. I don't think they really...
I've always thought it was Sunset Beach that
yes.
claimed.
Sunset Beach incorporated as a city 100 years ago, and then annexed into Huntington Beach in roughly 2012 or something.
Where are we going next, and how are we getting there?
We'll go to the living area, which is a kitchen, dining room, living room, and bedroom, 1 floor above, and we'll take the elevator.
And when people come here, when they rent it, they get the whole place.
Of course, yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, we're sitting here, I guess, at your kitchen table. Is that what this would be?
In the spirit of the old railroad, it has lots of moving pieces underneath it. It lets you raise it and tilt it. Came with the house, probably because it's impossible to remove from the house.
This level here, again, the higher you get, the more spectacular it gets. You have a story about one of the former owners?
Well, Jerry Wallace was his name. He was the second owner, and he actually is the longest tenured. He owned the house, lived here about 24, 25 years. He was married at some point in there, but he was a partier. He loved to party. He would go down on the Greenbelt and invite people to come up and have beer with him here. Very popular, free-spirited kind of guy. I found an article in the LA Times 2002-ish on wine, and they interviewed him and they said, "You have such a nice kitchen. What do you cook there?" And he said, "Oh, I don't cook." And they said, "Well, how do you eat? You got this great kitchen." And he goes, 3 meals a day at the Harbor House. Then they said, "Well, what do you do if you live here all day?" He says, I do 3 things every day. Number 1, I ride my bike on the Greenbelt. Number 2, I walk on the sand at Sunset Beach. And number 3, in the evenings, I lay on my couch watching TV with the door open, listening to the waves. And I thought, this guy's my hero.
Well, this room, this space here is one of the most, spectacular, but just serene, conducive, really almost indescribable. But what I love is wherever you look, there are little details. There are water towers every place and little very distinctive touches that reflect the theme of where we are. And I think
The train also up there.
Okay, you mentioned a train. Why don't you've got a working model train.
There's a train on a circular track to pay honor to the fact it was built to service the trains.
This house, this tower really encompasses a lot of local history.
So this is the second bedroom of the house. It has 2 bunk beds. It pays homage to the only known pirate that terrorized Orange County, Hippolyte Bouchard. He was French and hired by the French government to terrorize Spain because they were bitter enemies. And they sent him out here because of the Spanish colonies.
This is one of the 2 master bedrooms on this level. If you ever wanted to wake up anywhere, I think it'd be right here. This is incredible.
Definitely. They made sure all the bedrooms have these, not just large, but humongous hinged windows, so you get a perfect view and sound of the ocean. So people sometimes ask, why are there 2 master bedrooms? It must be for Airbnb, so 2 couples could rent simultaneous. And I point out there weren't any Airbnb in 1984. So the fact is that George Armstrong, the first owner, was a teacher. He really couldn't afford building it all. So he had a partner, Dr. Odell, who was an anesthesiologist at Long Beach Memorial. Dr. Odell said, well, what if we want the house at the same time? So,
2 masters.
So the architect said, I'll just make 2 masters side by side.
There's also 2 bathrooms here, really uniquely designed.
Right.
We're going to look at those. Talk about those for a minute.
Well, let's say we're having a party and you say, may I use the facilities? I'd prefer not to say, well, go into my bedroom and the door's right there. So you can see that this bathroom actually spins around. There's a hookup here, and with 2 people, or 1 very strong person, you can push this door, so this door is now in the hallway. So somebody could use the restroom without walking into the bedroom.
This house has so many weird angles and ideas. It really...
Very unique.
Bathroom is a beautiful whitewash. Then you've got like a separate step-down shower room here that's huge.
Yeah, it has that rainfall shower, and it can fit 10 people in there.
Wow. It just keeps getting better. This is the second master bedroom, but...
The second master, all whitewashed.
And this is the room you prefer to stay in this
Because
one.
I like waking up to that. And I just put my computer there, and I work at that desk. And this is my hangout. But
Amazing.
It's a great bedroom.
Now we're going to head up. There's the top level. It's our next stop.
I named it the Rotunda, and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I walked up these stairs, and I said, I'm flipping buying this house.
Wow. Greg, I get it. I get your reaction when you first came up here. This is incredible. Tell me about it. What's going on
It's
up
a
here?
360 view. There's little signs saying you can see Hollywood, you can see the airport, you can see Disneyland. So it's our party room.
And here's Mary.
And my wife, Mary.
Hello, welcome.
Your wife, who's certainly part of the story. Good to see you, Mary.
Good to see you.
So the two of you here, what was your reaction when you first saw this room up here?
Oh, well, when he first told me he was going to buy this, I told him he was crazy. But then he brought me up here, and I could see why. There is nothing else like it.
This is one of the most spectacular rooms I've ever been in my life, anywhere.
Well, for parties, you have 4 TVs. For sports or movies,
And we're what level here? What height?
this is 80 feet.
80 feet.
Well, 88 to the top.
88 to the top, but this is just a full spectrum rotunda, 360, everything we've been talking about.
All the windows
all
open
the
if-
layers
if
up,
we
it's
want.
all here.
Everything opens, and I mean, look out those windows. It's just, sometimes we watch the dolphins playing out there.
So a few things about it. The aquarium is functional. I'll have some fish in there soon. But if the sign there says original parts of water tower, that's the 1892 water tower. When they tore it down, they
That's
saved.
some great hidden history right there.
They saved the steel. One of the previous owners wanted to correct people who thought they were looking west when they were
Right.
looking at Catalina.
Right.
He put a true compass in the floor showing we're looking south when we look at Catalina because of the natural bend at the Palos Verdes Peninsula.
Right.
So our beaches are actually more south facing than they are west facing.
I'm going to ask both of you, what is it like to be here, to live here, knowing you're in a spot that everybody wonders about, that everybody tries to get into, that everybody talks about when they pass it? It really is, there's no other home, I don't think, in Orange County that has that kind of allure. What's it like to know that it's yours, you're here, you've got all the answers and secrets now? So how does that
I know.
feel?
It's a little unbelievable. It's actually the only water tower home in this whole country that we can find. We found a few over, across the pond. There's some in Norway and some in the
Right.
UK, but it's the only one here in this country.
It is.
So
Chicago has a water tower mall,
Right.
Yeah.
but no other homes except this one. And I just want to share it, really, and preserve it. So if I could, I'd rent it for free, but I can't.
Well, you've been very generous letting us come in and you tell the story and you show it. I'm sure there are many people that want to come in and stay here. The fact that it is available is pretty amazing.
it's really fun when somebody's using this for a party to just be outside and listen to the laughter, and they're so excited that they get to celebrate something here.
Well, you did something else that I want to show everybody, where all along, if you look around the rotunda here, you've got little signs that indicate what you're looking at in the distance. It might be John Wayne Airport, it might be Huntington Beach Pier, and each little sign. Now, we met a month or so ago, and we were looking out toward the wetlands here, and I told you a little story about these osprey that I used to photograph, whose nest was blown down. I contacted SoCal, SCE, Southern California Electric, and or Edison rather, and they were nice enough to come out and build a tower for those osprey. We talked about it, went up there in a cherry picker, had it placed. And so would you show the audience what you had done today? As a complete surprise to me, would you walk us over and show?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So a little further research revealed that it actually has been named the Chris Epting Osprey Landing. So you're a permanent part of the tower now, Chris.
I mean, that's a great angle right there.
If you want more hidden history, check out our Facebook group, which is simply Hidden Huntington Beach. We've got over 15,000 members there sharing stories and home movies and all kinds of great things. So hope you enjoy that, and we'll see you soon. Another edition of Hidden Huntington Beach.
Standing here, you can see a beautiful shot of Sunset Beach's famous greenbelt. It's where the train tracks used to be.
The right of way.
And most other cities, when they ripped out the tracks, built strip malls and mini malls. But Sunset Beach, always thinking a little outside the box, put a beautiful greenbelt, trees everywhere.
No, it really is a remarkable environment. I can't imagine what it's like every day to get in the elevator, knowing where you are, knowing it goes back to 1892, knowing the history of the trains and everything. I had no idea they were going to incorporate my working on the Osprey Landing as part of their series of plaques. That, to me, I got all choked up when she showed me that. That caught me so off guard. And to know that my name's going to be in the water tower house now is just incredible.